Diego Velázquez was one of the most important Spanish painters in the Baroque period and Realism period. He was a great beneficiary of royal patronage to Philip IV, who named him chief court painter and palace chamberlain. He is most known for his Las Meninas painting, which is said to be his masterpiece, and to this day art historians still haven't agreed on any exact interpretation of it because the visual and narrative complexity is too hard to read. His artwork was a model for the Realist and Impressionist painters, but especially for Edouard Manet. Diego's work has been recreated by famous modern artists including Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, and Francis Bacon. Diego was born in Seville, Spain, and was baptized on June 6, 1599. His grandparents had moved to Seville from Portugal. He was influenced by many artists and showed an early gift of art, and because of this, at a late age 11, he was able to study under Francisco Herrera for 1 year. Velázquez left Herrera and studied under Francisco Pacheco, who expressed direct realism which contradicted what he was taught by the famous Raphael. So through Francisco, Velázquez has many great influences and teachers. Under Pacheco, Velázquez studied proportion and perspective. By the 1620s, his reputation and position was known in Seville. In 1618, he married Juana Pacheco, who is the daughter of his teacher, and had 2 kids by 1621. His eldest daughter, Francisca, married a known Baroque painter, Juan Bautista Martinez del Mazo, who was a follower of Velázquez. His youngest daughter died in infancy. In 1622, he went to Madrid and was introduced to Don Juan de Fonseca, who was the king and king's chaplain, who is a cleric of religious tradition, who later introduced Velázquez to Philip IV. And then King Philip IV sat and had his portrait painted by Velázquez. The king liked his portrait so much he moved Velázquez and his family to Madrid permanently, and commissioned Velázquez to be the only painter to do the portraits of Philip IV, and that all the other portraits of the king be removed from circulation. Velázquez was requested by Pacheco to do a portrait of the famous poet Luis de Góngora. Velázquez remained in Madrid for the rest of his life. Velázquez did a bust portrait of King Philip IV in 1623 and was granted admission to the royal service. This portrait was displayed on the steps of San Felipe but is now a lost painting. Museo del Prado has 2 portraits of King Philip IV. In 1628, Velázquez met Peter Paul Rubens, who reinforced his desire to see Italy and the works of the great Italian masters. Velázquez was appointed gentleman usher as a reward for winning a painting competition where he painted Philip III, but the painting was destroyed in a fire. One early work of his is The Triumph of Bacchus, which is the most advanced example of Velázquez's first style. At age 20, Velázquez painted Water Carrier of Seville, which reveals his painter's talent and his influence from Caravaggio by the contrast of darks and lights. Velázquez traveled to Italy and lived there for a year and a half, where he developed most of his style. The trip was sponsored by King Philip IV. The Royal Archives only gives the dates of his most important works, and although he did groups of paintings based on different trips to Italy, it is hard to tell some painting influence because his style overlaps. There isn't much known of his first trip to Italy. The surrender of Breda was inspired by Velázquez's visit to Italy and depicts the transfer of the key to the city from Dutch to Spanish army during the siege of Breda. It is considered one of the best Velázquez's painting. Velázquez accompanied Philip IV as he conquered Lerida, and from this journey he painted a portrait in which the king is represented as a great commander leading his troops, a role that Philip IV never played. Velázquez painted 40 portraits of Philip IV, but he also painted portraits of the whole royal family, including Don Baltazar Carlos, a son of the King Philip IV's first wife, Elizabeth of Bourbon, and this painting now sits in a private room in Buckingham Palace. He is also known for painting the royal court of Spain portraits. Philip entrusted Velázquez to design an Academy of Art in Spain, and Philip commissioned Velázquez to go to Italy again to purchase statues. In his second visit to Italy, he painted Pope Innocent X, who then presented Velázquez with a medal and gold chain. Velázquez returned to Spain and painted many portraits of Philip IV's second wife, Maria of Austria, and was appointed to fill the high office of a Posetador of Mayor. Las Meninas is a painting of the eldest daughter of Maria. Her name is Margaret Teresa, and the different viewpoints of the painting make the subject unknown because it could be Margaret, the painter, or even the king and queen. It is said to be a self-portrait of Velázquez, and the title means Lady in Waiting or the Maids of Honor. Margaret is in the center in white, which symbolizes purity, and she is surrounded by maids. The maids are also known as ladies in waiting. There are two favorite dwarfs of Margaret and her dog in the foreground. On the back wall is a mirror with the reflections of the king and queen. It looks like Velázquez was doing a painting portrait of the king and queen, but instead painted their viewpoint. Velázquez is seen wearing a red cross, which is the cross of St. James of the Order of Santiago, which is knighthood, but it is said the king painted the cross on the painter as it appears today on canvas because Velázquez did not receive the knighthood until 3 years after the painting was finished. The scene takes place in Velázquez's studio. Velázquez could have also been painting this particular painting in it. Other scholars suggest the reflection in the mirror is not a reflection of the king and queen, but a reflection of the portrait Velázquez is painting on the canvas before him. It is said that this picture hung in Philip IV's personal office so that each time he viewed it, he again participated in the painting and as the object of the people's eyes. On the wall above the mirror and doorway are two faintly recognized pictures as Peter Paul Rubens paintings which depict the immortal gods as the source of art. He portrays the realities of image on campus, of mirror image, of optical image, and of the two painted images. This image is said to have been capturing himself in the process of painting Margaret. With the open doorway and ascending staircase, the viewer's eyes is directed to go out of the studio, which provides another narrative to the painting. In this painting, Velázquez mastered the use of gray to break up the spaces between light and dark, which is against what Caravaggio is known for. His use of tonal gradations effects was not known until the photography age, so this proves that he was ahead of his time. Velázquez was lucky to have been a favorite of the king because in Spain there was only two patrons of art, the king and court or the church, and Velázquez was lucky to have a good salary and pension compared to the job of the painter of the church. His final paintings are portraits of the royal children, which are among his finest works, especially the final portrait of Infanta Margarita Teresa in a blue dress, which almost has an impressionistic effect with the way the shimmering spots of color on wide surfaces He also did a portrait of the delicate and sickly Prince Felipe Prospero, which is known for the combination of sweet features of the child prince and his dog with a sense of softly added gloom. He died on August 6, 1660, when he was struck with a fever, and then 8 days later his wife was buried next to him in a church that was later invaded and destroyed by the French, so his place of entombment is now unknown. Velázquez is often known as a key influencer of Edouard Manet, who is said to bridge the gap between realism and impressionism. His art was not famous outside of Spain until the 19th century. The importance of his work even today is seen by Pablo Picasso recreating Las Meninas in 58 variations. These are on display at Museu Picasso in Barcelona, and is the only complete series of Picassos that remains together today. Picasso has a quote that reads, "If someone wants to copy the Las Meninas entirely in good faith, for example, upon reaching a certain point, and if that one was me, I would say, what if you put them a little more to the right or left? I'll do it my way, forgetting about Velázquez. The test would surely bring me to modify or change the light because of having changed the position of a character. So little by little, that would be a debatable Meninas for a traditional painter, would be my Meninas." As you can see, Velázquez left behind a great legacy and is a very important artist.